Hello everyone, I'm Sandy Anastasi, psychic channel, intuitive astrologer, and soul coach. And I'm here with a very special new set of tips for you. With this tip, I am beginning a tip or a series of tips on psychic development. Folks, I have so many students all over the planet. There are, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of people right now, this minute, studying either directly with me or an independent study with me, or from my books, or from my teachers of my system that I created, or from students of them or students of me who are teaching someplace else just under their own auspices. Hundreds of thousands of people teaching psychic development that have learned their psychic development from me and my Anastasi system of psychic development. Well, again, by popular demand, I decided it's time to create a series of tips here on YouTube that are on psychic development. For those of you that I don't even know your names, but you're still studying with me, this is for you. This is for my active students. This is for my teachers in my system and their students. This is for anyone, anywhere, who has my psychic development books or MP3s or MP4s or CDs or DVDs. Folks, you get the picture. And I'm glad you're here. Thanks so much for coming by. Here's your tip. First off, my psychic development students often ask me if the moon's cycles or even the time of year can have an effect on their psychic sensitivity as well as their emotions. And of course, you probably have figured it out. The answer is yes. In fact, a big, great, giant, super yes. You see, almost everyone is aware these days that the full moon certainly does affect people's emotions. In fact, people who've worked in mental institutions or social services or prisons, the police force, are aware that all of those facilities usually put more staff on around the full moon, or at least they expect more activity around the full moon, because statistics have shown that everything from crime waves to people just going off the deep end increases on or around the full moon. In fact, there's more seismic activity around the full moon. There are more earthquakes, more storms, just more action having to do with everything that has to do with emotion and the physical environment. So, for some people, that real intense increase that affects your emotions can be a good thing. For others, it's not so good. If you are the person who responds to the stresses in your life, now think about this. If you're the person who responds to the stresses in your life in a positive way, that means you take intelligent action when you're faced with an emergency. If it's your natural tendency, then the full moon is going to have a positive effect on your psychic senses as well. And in fact, you may find that your predictive ability, your telepathic ability, your empathic ability, all of your natural senses, your ability to see spirits, just to feel other people's emotions, all of those abilities will be turned up. And for you, because you're good at dealing with stress, i.e. you're good with dealing with your emotions under a full moon, your psychic senses are going to be turned up and you will recognize them and handle them very well. But if you're the person who becomes over-emotional around the full moon, you're oversensitive, you get confused, depressed, you anger easily, you get anxious when faced with stressful situations, you're going to likely respond to the energy of the full moon in much the same way. And because of that, around the full moon, Your psychic senses, even though they may be turned up, are going to play havoc with your life. Your normal tendency to get angry around the full moon emotionally will intensify, and you may pick up other people's thoughts and feelings and get angry at them for no reason at all because you misinterpret those thoughts and feelings. So consider that your emotional response to the full moon is going to be an indicator for you as to whether your psychic senses are turned up in a good way or a bad way around every single full moon. That's monthly, folks. Every single full moon this happens. So which one are you? That's important for you to know. If you're the first, the full moon's going to be a great time for you to practice your psychic skills. But if you're the latter, either don't practice on or around the full moon, or if you do employ some form of psychic work, also employ some very powerful form of psychic protection so that you're less subject to the negative influences like emotions and thoughts and things that could be coming from people or the environment around you that you're too oversensitive in a negative way. Now, people often forget about the new moon, and yet it has the same ability to deeply affect both your emotions and your psychic perceptions as the full moon does. You'll find that the full moon's always indicated in your newspaper, so it's easy to find when the full moon is. Often they don't mention a new moon. It's 2 weeks later. Every 2 weeks we have either a full moon or a new moon. That's the lunar cycle. It's a 28-day cycle. Now, when I was first learning to develop my own psychic senses, I found that all of my skills improved around both the full moon and the new moon, and that meditations, get that, meditations of all kinds were much more powerful for me around the new moon. They call it the dark of the moon, and that dark of the moon is so good for all kinds of inner work. That means work on yourself, like meditation, and like getting in touch with your psychic abilities and your psychic senses. Likewise, just as the cycles of the moon can affect your physical sensitivities and your psychic sensitivities, so can the time of year. Each of the equinoxes and the solstices are times when psychic sensitivity is enhanced, as is the time around Halloween, coming right up in October. And we call that sometimes All Saints' Day. Psychics say that the veil between the worlds is thinnest at that time. In ancient times, Halloween was the end of the year. That was right when the new year began. So the new year has actually moved a couple of months over thousands of years. But that veil is still thinnest between the worlds around Halloween. And the fact is, all of your psychic work, from meditation to divination to working with tools like astrology or tarot to spirit communication and even channeling, are going to be easier for you to accomplish around those times. Again, that's the full moon, the new moon, the equinoxes, the solstices, and Halloween. And Halloween is probably the very best for meditation, for inner work, and also for channeling and spirit communication. Lastly, the time of day can even have an effect on your psychic sensitivity, and that can really differ from person to person. So pay attention to your energy level throughout the day. And those times of the day that you normally have your highest energy level are usually going to be the times that you're also most able to have really good active psychic work, like reading cards or sending thoughts, that we call that telepathy. But those times of day when your energy is more relaxed, not overtired, just very relaxed, those are going to be the times that you're most receptive to the thoughts and feelings of others. And of course, those times of the day when your energy is just super low and you can barely function, you just want to go to sleep, your psychic senses are going to be turned off. You might be receptive to things, but unable to separate them, understand them, read them. So it's a good idea to not be involved with things psychic when your energy is that low. I invite you to explore your own highs and lows by keeping a journal. Not everyone responds the same way emotionally to outer stimulus. So it follows that everyone's psychic senses are also going to follow their own pattern. So keep your journal. Find out what yours are. I'm Sandy Anastasi, and I'm so glad to see you here following my psychic development tips. Look for another one next month. They're going to be very, very good for your own psychic development. I promise. Meanwhile, please visit me on my website. You'll find me right here online at www.sandyanastasi.com. Sign up for my free monthly newsletter, and you'll find out about all these things first. Anything I'm doing, any place I'm appearing, anything I'm releasing, it's always first on the website and in the newsletter. And I also want you to sign up for my free monthly psychic hour. I do those psychic hours monthly. They're always free, and you get to watch me channel and do readings right there online and participate in the most magical hour of the month. I'll see you back here next month with another tip for you. Thanks for coming by. So long.